Before we start the video, I would like to say, like I say in all my previous videos, any build you go is fine. This video is just to show you guys some tips and tricks and some mantras that are kind of mandatory so that your build can be up to date and you won't be missing much from your mantra class. But before we start the video, make sure you guys do subscribe. Only 2.2% of you guys who watch my video are subscribed, so make sure you do that. It helps me make more guides like this. And let's start the flame charm guide. So before we get into the talents or the mantras of flame charm, you first have to understand that flame charm has a burn effect. Now there are other mantras that have effects after their initial, hit, but with fire it's on straight off the bat. The four mantras you want to go if you're a beginning flame charm user or if you're a returning flame charm user is flame wisp, flame of denial, burning servants, and flame leap. Now the reason why I say you want to go these four is because it is just for basic utilization and healing and for some mix-up combos. The first mantra, the reason why you would want to go flame wisp is because when you use it, it heals you if you have missing health over a short duration, and depending on how much you upgrade the flame wisp, it can stay there for longer and heal you for more. Now it's a really good mantra to use when you're in PvP or just have on you because it doesn't go away until it's healed you for a certain amount of time, and it stays on you until it's healed you that certain amount of health. So that's why you'd want to get Flame Wisp. Make sure to get Flame Wisp because if you don't, then you're going to be missing a huge source of healing. The second mantra, which is Burning Servants. Now Burning Servants is optional. You can switch it up or mix it up with a Graceful Flame if you don't want Burning Servants, but I personally use Burning Servants for mix-ups. When you M1, while M1ing, you can easily do Burning Servants without it canceling your M1. So you can get an M1 in while using Burning Servants, which basically is a 7-hit combo. If you can land all hits, 7 or 8. I don't know the specific number of hits that Burning Servants do, but yeah. Now, the reason why I say you want to go Graceful Flame if not Burning Servants is because it's just a really good support mantra that basically everyone should have. It's just a free campfire. You can spawn on land, and if you have Undying Flame, if you have Undying Flame, you can spawn it within the depths as well. I think it's really, really good. These two, I put them together because they're optional, both of them. Now, the third mantra that you want to get as a flame user is Flame of Denial. Now, most people think that Flame of Denial is not good anymore because of its ritual cast and its nerf on blue flames, but in all honesty, if something revives you from being one hit, I think it's really good. Now, this can work on any build. It doesn't have to be flame. If you're doing dual mantras or dual element, it's really good to use on dual element. As you can see in the fight here, I also have this is a build that I made a long time ago that also has Flame of Denial, and literally it saves me in PvP and PvE, any type of situation. So make sure you do get Flame of Denial, upgrade it to the max if possible. I know that it's not as possible with dual element, but if you are just straight up flame, make sure you max it out to the fullest, and when you suspect that your character is going to die, just use it. It doesn't matter if it's a ritual cast or if you have to press 3 keys. It's way more better than your character getting killed or wiped. So yeah. Now the fourth mantra is Flame Leap. The reason why I say you want to get Flame Leap is because of the mobility. It's basically the only mobility move of Flame. So if you don't get it, then you're not going to be jumping into high places, and it's very easy to escape the depths with Flame Leap. Even though it does scale off a health, and if you're low, it basically is useless. It is really good for escaping the depths and escaping potential ganks, and it can get you a higher boost when you're using your glider. It's more of a utility type of mantra. I myself don't really recommend using it in combos, but if you guys want to use it in combos, it's fine. And yeah, I don't use my Flame Leap in a combat situation. I usually use it to get up into places or to get out of places. So there are 3 talents you want to get with Flame. The first talent I recommend that you get with Flame is Explosive Finish. The reason why you want to get Explosive Finish is because it has the same properties as the Explosion enchant, but they have to be set ablaze, and you also have to flourish them while flames are on them. Even though they seem like some requirements to get this type of result, it does a lot of damage. It does about 1 bar, depending on how much your flame charm is. If it's a max, it probably does 1.25 bars or 1.5 bars, but it really is worth putting it in your build. It's basically a talent that gives you free damage, or it gives you better leeway to get more damage, a better option than using your abilities or using something like an enchant. This can also be more easy to get off when you have finisher ring, and finisher ring just lowers your flourish count by 1. The second talent I recommend you to get is Hungry Flames. Now the reason why I say you should get Hungry Flames is because when you don't have any more ether and you want to use an ability, it uses your hunger and your thirst, and this is basically situational if you need to get away, or if you know that you need to use an ability like a last stand type of situation, where you know that if you don't use an ability now, your character is basically gonna die, like in those PvP matches or in, like, you know, regular team fighting. That's why you want to use Hungry Flames, because there are so many moments where you're out of ether and you know you could have one if you use that one ability. So optional again, you don't have to get this. Make sure if you do want it to get it. The third talent you want to get is Last Lap. The reason why I say you want to get Last Lap is because it's basically a free card to not give any items to someone who has downed your character, or if your character has already gotten downed by a monster and you know that you don't want that precious loot that you've probably acquired from Primidon or something to, you know, be collected or swooped up by somebody else. So Last Lap is another optional talent. You don't have to get it, but it's not like it was before, like when you got downed your character instantly died. You have to proc Flame Within. So yes, you have to get Flame Within before getting Last Lap. So when your character gets downed, you proc Flame Within and your character explodes basically, and it also does damage to the people around you as well. It's not just a self explosion, it's an AoE explosion that does damage to other people around you. If you guys did it. Before we start this guide, I just want to say any build that you go is fine. Like I say in my previous videos, I'm not making this video to try to tell you what to build. I'm just making this video for people who are starting out Frost Draw or who want to get back into Frost Draw with a good arsenal. But before we start the video, make sure you guys do subscribe. Only 1.8% of you are subscribed, and the rest are not subscribed that watch my videos, so make sure you do that. It helps me make more videos like this. Let's start the Frost Draw guide. Now, Frost Draw is not a commonly used mantra. Now, most of you might be saying, oh, I get Frost Draw uses in my games every time. They're so annoying, they only use abilities. That may be true, but with the recent updates that have been happening, I have not been seeing much Frost Draw players in Deepwoken or in PvP. That said, there are a lot of mantras and talents, mostly talents, that go with Frost Draw. If you choose the wrong path or talent, you might end up having a whole build ruined. But before we get into the talents, let me tell you guys about the mantras. Now, these are 2 mantras with Frost Draw that if you don't have, it kind of messes up your build. The first mantra that I recommend you to get is Glacial Arc. Now, the reason why you want to get Glacial Arc is because it's basically your only mobility move. And I say basically because there is another one. The other mobility mantra for ice is Ice Skate, and you can only ice skate out of water until you get a talent that allows you to ice skate within thin air. Now, I don't know if that still works within the depths. I tried testing that out on my previous ice build, and it didn't work in the depths even after me getting the card that lets you ice skate in plain air. But I don't know, you guys should tell me in the comments below if it still works within the depths. Now, with Glacial Arc, you want to make sure that you max it out with like Crystal Lens to get max range. But the reason why you want to have it is because mobility mantra, and it's basically the only one you can use without having to get another talent. The second move you want to get as a starting out or a returning ice user is Ice Eruption. The reason why you want to get Ice Eruption is because it can create ice for you on the floor, so that you don't have to have the flourishing talent that creates an ice trail after flourishing an enemy. If you are a new Frost Draw user, you will have to literally play off of the ice on the ground. Now, the reason why I say that is because basically I said basically, all of your talents work off of this ice. If you are not on the ice, your talents will not proc. There are 3 talents that you want to have that also work off of the ice. The first talent is Orbital Ice. Orbital Ice gives you 25% physical damage reduction when you parry on your ice. This talent is good in all builds, all situations, so it is a must-have on your build. Not getting it really can make you more squishy within PvP or team fighting. Overall, this is an optimal talent to get. Now, the second talent is optional. You don't have to get this, but it really would help you if you are going against a shadow user. Chilling Flourish is a situational talent that you get when you're low on ether or when you're going against a shadow user. It is really good because it creates a trail of ice when you flourish an enemy anywhere, and you can also perform your talents or use your talents on the ice that was created from that flourish. So that is why you need to get Chilling Flourish, just in case you run out of ether and you need to get an orbital ice off or any other talent that requires you being on ice. Another talent that is optional to get is Glass Path Crystallization. Now, the reason why you would want to get Glass Path Crystallization is because it puts icicles inside your opponent when you use ice mantras instead of slowing them, and it can mess up their parrying, and it can also mess up their movement, making it more restrictive instead of more fluent for them to slide jump or use their mantras in the direction that they want to use it. Now, the reason why I say it's optional is because some people prefer slow instead of these crystals, but in the end, yes, it is up to you whether you want to have crystals inside your opponent or if you want to have slow so that you could get more hits in or move more faster than them. The first 2 abilities are optional. You don't have to get these, but they can really help you within a combat situation. The first one is Storm Blades. It has the same type of mechanic as Burning Servants, where you can either feint it into a cast, you can feint an M1 into a cast, or you can get a whole M1 off and use Storm Blades like I'm using in the clip right here. They don't really expect it because when you swing, it has the same animation as if you were to do Storm Blades. It makes your character bow down and it'll look like a full M1 when you're swinging and you press Storm Blades. So it'll look like you're fainting when you're actually just trying to get an ability off. And you want to make sure you upgrade your Storm Blades with Cloud Stones so that it can have a radius that engulfs the opponent so that you'll be able to, you know, hit them from behind with your Storm Blades. Because when you hit them from behind with your Storm Blades, it actually goes through their block, basically. Depending on if you don't get hit while you're doing your Storm Blades, because if you get hit, then your Storm Blades won't fully activate. The second ability is Grand Javelin. The reason why I say you want to get Grand Javelin is because it's a really good ability to use. It's another basically instant cast, depending on how much drift shards you have on them, or depending on how close you are to your enemy. And you want to make sure you upgrade both of these abilities to level 5. Yes, you want to uncap, like you should be uncapping basically for all your mantras, but you want to make sure that this does a bar of health. Grand Javelin, when maxed out, can do a full bar of health no matter what armor or fortitude you have. So make sure you do upgrade your lightning abilities to the max so you can get the max amount of damage out of them. There are 2 talents you want to get as a Thundercall user. The first talent is Raging Static, and before you get Raging Static, you need to get Jumpstart. You will get Raging Static within the talents after getting Static Withdrawal and Jumpstart. And the reason why you want to get this is because it enhances your damage by, it doesn't show the percentage, but enhances it by a lot. This will help you with your lightning moves and your M1s as a whole. I believe it still makes you a little faster than you were without Raging Static. The second talent you want to use, or get, the second talent you want to get are 3 talents. They're basically the authority talents, the intimidation talents. They make sure that your abilities apply electrify status to status that can mess up somebody while they're M1ing, and it can make it harder for them to parry or use abilities. And it gives you protection if your character gets hit with lightning abilities, making you basically immune to lightning abilities. I believe the other one, it lets you gain ether from lightning or electrified attacks against you. So if a lightning user is using abilities against you, whether you parry, block, dodge, or get hit, you get an amount of ether that is basically, it's a lot of ether. It gives you a good amount of ether depending on the ability that is thrown. There are other talents that I did not mention, like overcharge. Basically what overcharge does is that it builds up electricity within your weapon. It's only for medium weapons, I believe. Yeah, it's only for medium weapons. That's why I didn't put it in one of the talents, because it's not like media. I mean, it's not like heavy or light. It doesn't apply to those. It only applies to medium weapons. And what it does is, once the electricity is built up to a point where you can see it visually, you get a free dash in any direction, like a lightning clone dash. So that is really helpful and useful, but it's only for medium weapons. So if you're a medium weapon, make sure you look out for static blade. That's the tree or path that you should be going if you are medium. Static blade into overcharge, so you can get a free dash. If you guys didn't, when you're playing Shadow, when you're a Shadow caster, the first move you probably want to get if you're starting out as a Shadow caster is to get Dark Blade. Now the reason why I say you want to get Dark Blade is because it's a really good move to engage and disengage because of its mobility and its hitbox. And what I mean by hitbox is that if you get one hit in, getting the other two hits in are easier because of some other talents that you can get later on that Shadow has, kind of like the blinding talent, which makes their screen darker, or the talent that makes their parry window more wider, so that you don't have to worry about them parrying your moves too quick. The other move that you probably want to get, and this is when you level up your Shadow cast to a little higher level, is Shadow Eruption. Shadow Eruption is a really good move to use in mix-ups. It stays there and lingers. Once you use it, it's not like it's just ability you use and it disappears. It has a initial hit and then it has an after hit. The initial hit is when it expands, and the after hit is when it closes in, and you can still get a proc of Shadow on them. Two Shadow caster talents that you want to get when leveling up is Dark Synergy and Dark Rift. The reason why you want to get these two is because Dark Synergy engulfs you and your opponent in shadows, which is like Flourishing Flame and things like that, and sometimes can make them block breaked on nothing. And I know it sounds confusing when I say that, but there are some people, when they flourish, they like somehow combo it to where they can be flourished into the wall instead of a building, and they can continue M1ing off of there and flourishing again and again and again. I don't know if they fixed that yet, but I probably will have to go test that out. And the second one is Dark Rift, and you definitely want this because when you dodge a move, it puts you in like a Dark Rift, like its name, and it will give you iframes for the duration that you are in that animation for. Shadow casting does not do a lot of damage, and the reason why it doesn't do much damage is because the main goal of Shadow is to steal ether. Now it can be paired up with gems lidless and blue, so that you'll be either stealing health and ether, or saving ether so that you'll be able to spam other abilities more often. Now, as a Shadow caster, I don't really use as much gems on my abilities, and that's because they already have the property to steal ether. But you can literally pair up Shadow casting with anything. It won't be like a bad investment like Wind Gem and Bless Gem. It'll just make your abilities off cooldown more often, or it'll just make it more useful. Like the Shadow War Bloodless Gem combo is really good within a team fight. Shadow caster is not really a solo type mantra. It's mainly for team fights and crowd control. That's why all of its moves and abilities are usually geared towards like fighting multiple people instead of just soloing like on ice or wind. It's more of a team player, team fight type of mantra that you want to be using mainly to get hordes of people or hordes of mobs, so that you'll be able to get as much ether stolen or health regen. The best weapons to use with Shadowcaster is heavy and medium. Medium will probably be one of like the equilibrium with all these mantras, because like it's kind of the most balanced, or it's the most 50-50 between all of the weapons. But the reason why you want to do heavy is because once you steal their ether, they won't have any ability to spam on you. It'll just be an M1 trade, and since heavy has a lot of posture to give to somebody who's trying to block their moves, it'll be really easy to get hits in because they won't have any abilities to counteract you using your heavy. Medium is sort of like I said before, it's the same thing. It's equal, it's a 50-50. You can do a lot of posture damage if you have Murmur as well. Murmur helps any shadow caster, it helps anybody, but mainly it helps shadow casters because of the ether stolen, and it can help you do more damage upon using your ability. If you did find this, so before you even start thinking about what combos and things to do with Gale, there are two moves that you want to get. The first one is Gale Lunge. The second one is Gale Wisp. Now the reason why you want to get Gale Lunge is because of its mobility. It's something that's easy to get and it's 1-star mantra. There's no point of not getting it. If you don't get it, then you won't be as mobile as you think you should be. The second one is Gale Wisp. Gale Wisp helps you with falls, and that's basically it. Even though nowadays everybody knows about the Astral Wind fall damage bug, you can still use this when you don't have Astral Wind up. This can also help you from running away from ganks or mobs that are, getting you low. If you're at Hive Island and you want to jump off of a height or somewhere else, you'll take reduced damage instead of, like, I don't know, getting instantly executed by gravity. So yeah, that's why you need to get Gale Wisp as another ability when you're going Gale. So when you're playing Gale, there are two talents that you want mainly. The first talent is Inhale, and the second talent is Windstep. You want these two talents because they, first of all, Windstep increases your mobility. Literally, even having 50 agility will not help you as much as having one Windstep. Even though having extra agility would help, having 0 agility with Windstep can still get to places that 100 agility can't get to. Now Inhale increases your damage, and getting Inhale helps you get Suffocating Edge. It can also help you get the legendary Word Without Song, I believe. But yeah, you want these two talents so that it can help you with comboing, and it can give you more damage when you're playing Gale. The way you want to really play is fast. You don't want to be going slow paced or trying to hold back with Gale. Your abilities are, I think they're off cooldown more frequently than other mantras are. When I play Gale, I usually feint out a Gale Breath and use it to get an Inhale, and then once I'm done with inhaling that ability, I can use it again, because when you use Inhale, it doesn't put your ability on cooldown since it's basically a feint, and then I use Gale Lunge again. Most people do that, and then there's abilities like Heavenly Wind, which can easily get you a double jump. He usually uses Heavenly Wind on his Gale account, and he can literally double jump like Mario. But you want to make sure that you are not going light speed, but going fast enough to weave in all the abilities coming off cooldown. When an ability is off cooldown, you want to use it unless you're not, unless you don't have that much ether. But you want to make sure that you have a good utilization of your abilities when you're playing Gale. You don't want to be having a bunch of abilities off cooldown, and just like Shadow, you want to keep your hotkeys on a low ability count so that you are not stretching over to press another ability. Just like with every other mantra, you want to know how to M1 and parry, and when to use your block. But with Wind, it's way more apparent because the abilities of Gale Breathing work a little more different than the abilities of other mantras. The way that Wind mantras work is that if somebody hits you when you're doing an ability, that ability might not count as hit at all and go through the person. This is more apparent with Wind Carve. When you're using Wind Carve and you get hit while using Wind Carve, your other Wind Carve hits will not register, and the person or opponent or thing you're going against, it will go right through them. So you want to really know when to use your abilities or when to capitalize on a block break if you want to use that ability right there and then, or if you don't want to. This is also really annoying sometimes when you're using Astral Wind, because when you use Astral Wind and all the hits don't hit, they will not be ragdolled up into the air, and you can easily be hit right after your Astral Wind. So some advice you want to use while using Astral Wind is either block or parry, or try to parry right afterwards if you know you're not going to get that ragdoll. Or any ability, make sure that when you use your ability that you're probably not going to get hit, or when you use your ability that they're block broken so that the animation and damage goes through and you don't waste your ether and you don't have to wait on your cooldown. So the weapons that really do go really well with Gale Breathing is dagger and medium weapons. It's not the only weapons for Gale Breathing. You can also use heavy, and you can also use spear, because I don't classify spear as as a medium. Even though it's classified as a medium, it has its own playstyle. You can also use it with guns and things, but it really does work the best because of their quick attacking with medium and daggers.
So with atonement-less builds, there are multiple mantras that you can go. There is one mantra that you need to get overall though, and I'm going to say you need Strong Leap. Now the reason why I say you need Strong Leap is because if you're going agility while you're going non-atonementless, it won't reap you as much reward, and it won't let you play around with most of your points that you are given to level up other things that are more important, like fortitude or willpower, if you're trying to go something like blind seer, or if you're trying to go something like vision shaper. So you want to make sure you want to get Strong Leap when you start off with non-atonementless build. It's 50 strength. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's very worth it if you're trying to dedicate yourself to the no mantra playstyle. So there are 3 mantras that you can get. It's optional, but some people think that it's necessary for a non-atonement build. But here are the 3 mantras. The first one is Strong Left. Now Strong Left is based on what weapon you play. Strong Left might not be as good for spear users because they don't really want to get close to you in the first place. So what's the point of them using Strong Left? But you can use it in other situations, like with monsters. This is not just about PvP, it's also about PvE. And it really is good when you get tree felling blow, because you don't need an axe anymore. You can just use your Strong Left to take out trees. That's what I use Strong Left for mainly when I get it on any of my builds. But it really is good for block breaking somebody, and it really is good for giving somebody a lot of posture as well, if they don't get block broken. But like with all the other mantras I'm about to tell you, Strong Left is always optional. You don't have to get it. Sometimes it even feels like not a waste, but a mantra that shouldn't be in some of my builds. The second mantra that you probably should get, depending on if you're going heavy, light, or medium, is Master's Flourish. Now the reason why you want to get Master's Flourish is because
it is a huge AoE move, and it's basically not the only one you can get, but it's the most damaging and hugest one that you can use. There is something like Pressure Blast, and Rapid Punches doesn't count as much as an AoE move, but it can get a target from afar because of its movement speed. Master's Flourish would only be really used in a situation where you know the enemy's posture is high or the opponent's posture is high, and you want to get that block break. And the way you really want to even use it is with the momentum. You don't want to just use it in one place, or you want to use it while jumping, because that is how you'll get the most accurate hit on Master's Flourish or the most damage out on it. And it also chips through armor, so it is not bad to get on something like heavy or to get something like light. Even though those are not really what you get on those, it still is a good mantra for AoE damage within PvP, group fighting, and PvE type situation. The third mantra as a non-atonement build you want to get is Exhausting Strike. Now this is also optional. Like I said, all the 3 mantras that I am telling you to get are optional. The only one that is not optional
is Strong Leap.
If you do go a bunch of agility, if your build calls for agility, you also don't have to get Strong Leap. But this Exhausting Strike is probably a really good move you want to get in your non-atonement build. The reason why is because when you use an Exhausting Strike, it removes all of their posture and transfers it into the person, and it also can apply block break. That means if your posture has a higher capacity and the other person's posture is lower capacity, it transfers all of your posture into their posture and block breaks as well. Since it counts as a hit, it's not just a simple parry trade. It's basically removes the type of parry trade type playstyle, because it doesn't matter if they parry or if they block, it will transfer within that hit and they'll get block broken either way. So the talents you want to get on a non-atonement build are Bulldozer and Showstopper. The reason why I say you want to get Bulldozer is because it is not utterly broken, but it is really busted. It depends on where you are fighting in, but if you use it to your advantage with the mantras I just said beforehand, like Exhausting Strike, Master's Flourish, and Strong Left, it can deal loads of damage, and it can really just altogether stop the momentum of the person that you're going against or the opponent you're going against. It's really good for combos, and it really is good for starting up combos as well, because this has a really short cooldown. I don't know if it has a cooldown on all, but I know that I have been in many combos and have used it in combos that get my character into an infinite combo, or the person I'm going against into an infinite combo as well. The second talent that you want to get is Showstopper. Now I don't know if Showstopper is working correctly nowadays. Usually when Showstopper is used against me, I get out of it, but I believe it depends on the way that the person rolls. If it's rolling in towards the person who has Showstopper, I believe that they will be ragdoll and stopped. But if they're rolling backwards, or if they're rolling sideways from away from the Showstopper, like the ground slam, then I don't think that it will affect them at all. But if I am wrong, make sure you do tell me in the comments, because I really don't know if Showstopper is glitched or not, or if that is how it works. If you did find this video helpful, make sure you do subscribe, comment, and like on the video. Make sure you do share the video to people who also need tips and tricks on no atonement builds. And have a nice day, guys, and see you guys within the next video.